80% of my influence coming from the island, from Puerto Rico, because first, we're eating every day tropical fruit, coconut, mango, passion fruit. It's a lot of fruit, tropical fruit in Puerto Rico, papaya, banana, that you can see in the street. They're falling down from the tree, the mango. In the season, you can find mango everywhere in the street. In my house, we have a mango tree, banana tree, passion fruit. We have coconut, like palms with coconut. The thing is, in Puerto Rico, we're eating every day tropical fruits. And then I think that for me, in desserts, they give this extra flavor and delicate to any dessert. The flavor of the exotic fruit and tropical fruit, they make the dessert shine.
Behind every amazing flavor is an amazing human who has perfected their craft. Welcome to Flavors Unknown, a behind-the-scenes look at new flavors and the chefs, pastry chefs, and bartenders who create them, with your host, Emmanuel.
Welcome to episode 75 of the Flavors Unknown podcast. My guest today is one of the top 10 pastry chefs in the US, Antonio Bachour from Miami. I am your host, Emmanuel Roche. I have been working in the food industry for more than 20 years, both in Europe and in the US, and every other week, I share stories of awarded chefs, pastry chefs, and mixologists who are redefining the way we eat and drink in America, and we are disrupting the industry with flavors, innovation, and talent. Please follow us on the platforms where you are listening to podcasts and find the show notes of this episode on our website, flavorsunknown.com. Antonio Bachour grew up in Puerto Rico and was hooked on pastry from a young age. Bachour talks about how his early life in Puerto Rico played a role in his inspiration for creating desserts, the importance of teaching and mentoring, the evolution of the pastry scene in America, and of course, his creative process. Since his first book in 2013, Bachour published a total of 6 good books, the latest one being Bachour Gastro. Welcome, Chef. I'm really excited to have you on the show Flavors Unknown.
Thank you for having me.
You obviously grew up in Puerto Rico and you work with in your family bakery, over there. And I think I read somewhere that you started working there when you were young, like 7 years old. But your parents are in fact from Lebanon, correct? In terms
Yes.
of background. So what's the story here of, I'm guessing your parents or your dad, coming to, leaving Lebanon, I guess, because of the, situation, there, the tough situation, and then how they ended up in Puerto Rico?
Yeah, my parents, basically my father first, he came in the 1960s to Brazil. And he lived there in Brazil for about 4 years. And then he moved to Colombia, to Bogota. And then in Bogota, he met some friends and then they moved to New York. From New York, I think was 1965 or 1966. It was too cold for my parents. And then they moved to Puerto Rico. They heard that Puerto Rico is an island, it's part of the United States. And then they moved to Puerto Rico and they fell in love with Puerto Rico, with the people, with the ambience, with the temperature, and they love it.
I'm curious because with the bakery business that your family had there, were there any roots or any tradition or any influence coming from Lebanon in what they were doing, or it was purely influenced by Puerto Rico?
Was influenced by Puerto Rican flavors. My father was a businessman. He used to bakery, butcher, and then the bakery was across my house. That was the good thing about that. And then I was, from the beginning of the bakery, going every day to eat, talk to the pastry chef, with the bakers. And then, I fell in love with the passion of these people. I never seen in my life people working with passion, with love. And that was the thing that I love for them, because they was working not for money. They was working because they love what they do in this time.
The pastry chef, in fact, was from Puerto Rico then in your parents' business in the bakery, correct?
Yes, one of the pastry chefs, the main one, was Puerto Rican, but he worked for 30 years for Puratos, the big company.
Sure, yeah.
He was corporate pastry chef for Purato. He traveled in the world when I saw this guy doing some glaze, white glaze, compound, a layer cake with meringues, with flowers, doing meringue with flowers, I was impressed because I never seen before that in my life. Something new for me, something new for the customer. I think that's what the way I want to be. When I saw this guy for the first time, I fell in love with pastry. Before, I was okay. I was in my house. My mother was making everyday dessert for dinner. My mother all the time was in the kitchen making food. We are 7 brothers, big family. Every day in the table, we have one dessert for dinner. And not like a family, we love dessert. Cannot be one night without dessert in the
Without
table.
dessert, yeah. Okay. And so how does your life in Puerto Rico and influence your creative process today and the dessert that you are making? I'm guessing a lot. There's a lot of influence coming from the island.
Yeah, I think 80% of my influence coming from the island, from Puerto Rico, because first, we eating every day tropical fruit, coconut, mango, passion fruit. It's a lot of fruit, tropical fruit in Puerto Rico, papaya, banana, that you can see in the street. They're falling down from the tree, the mango. In the season, you can find mango everywhere in the street. They're falling from the tree. In my house, we have a mango tree, banana tree, passion fruit. We have coconut, like palm with coconut. The thing is, in Puerto Rico, we eating everyday tropical fruits. And then I think that for me, in desserts, they give this extra flavor and delicate to any dessert. The flavor of the exotic fruit and tropical fruit, they make the dessert shine.
Okay. And do you have a preferred one yourself?
Yeah, I love mango, passion fruit, coconut, and banana. That I cannot make a dessert in my showcase without these fruits. Always, I need to have 4 of these fruit in my dessert. Always.
You went after that to Miami, and then for education in pastry, and then you went back to Puerto Rico to start working, then back to Miami, and then you went to New York after that, correct?
When I was 18 years old, I graduated. I went to New York to the French Culinary Institute. I did over there, and then I moved back to Puerto Rico. I worked in the Westin, Ritz-Carlton, and then I moved to Miami again. I moved to New York. I did in 2007. I went to France to do an internship.
Okay, so let's pause about this because you have done so many things that I don't want to waste our time of conversations with the history of what you have, all the places that you went to. But so when did you start to get really I would say famous, or at least recognized by the media and the public? Was it when you were in New York?
I think it was in 2007 when I opened the Trump Soho in New York. Before that, I worked at the W South Beach. I opened the W South Beach with a restaurant. They came a chef from Spain, very well-known chef. We opened the restaurant. We get 4-star from Miami Herald. But before that, in 2003, when I moved to Miami, I was hired by Chef Andrea Curso, Talura. She won the best new chef by Food and Wine magazine. Yeah, Talura, and then one of the best new 10 restaurants by New York Times this time. I was the pastry chef, opening pastry chef. I worked for 3 years over there. Working with her and Tarura, I was recognized because we did a lot of events, Food and Wine. We traveled to different parts of the United States with her, cooking show. I think in 2003, really people know who was Antonio Bachour.
Okay. And what do you think that's really capture their attention, and what make them really focus on you? Was it the use of the fruits that you were talking about?
In the beginning, people was loving. They fell in love with my pretty dessert. I was doing color with flowers, edible flowers. I think I was one of the pastry chefs starting doing colors in the dessert, in the bonbons, in the pretty dessert, micro flowers. And people, I was requests from friends, from Spain, from Asia, from Thailand, from Japan. People call me, Chef, can you come to teach this technique of pretty dessert, whatever? And then I said, of course, no problem. But I think the pretty dessert, the colorful, the flowers, the using of edible flower was one of the main points that people was.
Yeah, and that was the beginning. And in fact, everyone looked at it, and there's a lot of pastry chefs that we can say maybe like copied you, after that, correct?
I know a lot of big chefs. They say, Antonio, we were influenced by you, whatever, And after that, I was starting doing making the glaze in the entremet in 2005. I think I was one of the first to visit Russia to teach people glazing cake in Russia. I remember, I don't want to say name, but big name of today of pastry chef from Russia. They took a class with me in 2005, 2007. There was a home cook or home baker. And then I remember one of my students, after 2-3 years after she took my class, by the Telegraph Food and Wine, she was named the best glazing cake in the world, something like that. I was very proud because, for me, when somebody that took a class with me, they are recognized, I feel very happy and very proud.
You mentioned like you went to France and you did the L'École Valrhona, in France in 2011. So what was like the idea behind it? It was like to master chocolates, obviously, at that time, or because I'm guessing you have gone through a lot of, pastry education. So it's like one more. So why?
I did that in 2007, no 2011. 2007.
Oh, sorry, 2007. Sorry.
Yeah. I was invited by Barrona to do like an internship, few weeks. They changed my life because the technique of making chocolate, to emulsify ganaches, to work with chocolate, they changed my life. I was doing good job, but I think with the training with the professional chef from Barrona, that they've been doing this every day, making training every day, open my eyes and my mind to try to help myself to be a better chef, to be trained, and to be my technique better. I did the training in Barjona. I opened my mind to ask every time, why this? Why I need to emulsify this? Why this ganache break? Why this mousse is grainy? It's good to be trained. You need to go to the classes. Because every day we learn something new.
So obviously techniques, are really important when it comes to, chocolates or like pastry, in general. So how do you balance, techniques and creativity? Because is one more important than the other in your field?
The most important thing is the technique. Because, recipe, you can find millions of recipes online. I can go to Google, you can find thousands of recipes. But the technique, how to make it, is the way they will give you 100% secure that you want to success in pastry. I think it's very important because the creativity, you need to learn how to be creative in pastry, because some people, they are good making prep. They only make prep. For me, the creativity is very important, like the technique, because people eat by eyes. You need to always be something new. Always you need to be ahead of everybody. I think in pastry, when you go ahead, people follow you. People want to inspire you. They're inspired by you. We can see today with few chefs in the world, they are always ahead of most of the other chefs. And then, it's coming to the pair. Technique and creativity. Creativity is very important too, because otherwise, if you make the same dessert, people get bored. I believe in the wow factor.
Do you get bored as well?
Yes, that's why in my pastry shop, we change dessert every week. Otherwise, I will get bored, of course.
Okay. And I can tell you that, I follow you obviously on Instagram, and every day I eat your desserts with my eyes as well. They are absolutely fantastic, for sure. What's your source of inspiration?
My inspiration is everywhere. Can be a flower, can be a painting, can be a coworker working with me with a great idea. For me, inspiration can be from everywhere, from nice color, for the building. Sometimes I sleep and I wake up thinking about a new color or something I saw before in a movie, or I was walking the day before, I saw a building with a nice shape, or the window, whatever. Inspiration for me can be a la minute, can be maybe talking with you. I see your shirt red with something in the center of the shirt. Can be anything. I get inspired very fast.
And so what do? You take notes? You have a little notebook with you, or?
Yes, and before I have a notebook with me in my pocket, And then now I use the phone. When I have inspiration, I write. Sometimes my wife, they say, you are crazy because sometimes I wake up at 4 o'clock and then I was reading in my phone, take a note. I put a note what I was thinking. I think of pastry almost almost 24 hours. My wife say, I always say to people, my first love was pastry. When I saw these people working in my pastry shop on my parents doing pastry and happy, that I found my first love. And then until now, I would say it's my first love. It's my career. It's my passion. It's my pastry. It's the only thing I know to do it now. It's my only career in the last 30 years. I wake up every day with more passion.
And so when you have this inspiration that comes from everywhere, as you just mentioned, what's your next step after that in your creative approach?
Okay, in my creative approach, when I have this creativity or this inspiration, I take a note, and then next day I come to my kitchen, I work with my chef. Listen, I have this idea. I want something with these flavors, this color, this shape, and we start working. The process of recipe for me is very easy because I've been doing 30 years recipe. That for me is the most easy part of this making dessert. For me now, the most difficult part is the aesthetic. How I want to shape, how I want to make it to look different from the last one I did or I made.
Let's talk now about your new book, Bachour Gastro. I really like the structure of the book. And there's one, chapter which is about your interpretation of some of the classic, desserts. So you are revisiting strawberry shortcake and carrot cake and lemon pie and so on. So, and it is not about like to destruct a concept, but it's really giving them like a different twist. What is this inspiration, behind, each of them? And how to proceed. So I don't know if you want to use maybe an example like the carrot cake, for instance, and can you take us through like your creative process to execute and create first and execute what you have in the book here about the carrot cake?
Bachour Gastro, for me, I did this book in the pandemic. I always say the pandemic for me was great because I opened a new restaurant. I did a new book, pandemic. A Bachour Gastro book, I fell in love with this book. I did with Grupo Bilbo, the people behind So Good Magazine, Dulce Paz from Spain. I want to do a book, very nice book, but at the same time, I want to explain the people, the ingredients we use. Each chapter, each recipe, we main focus in ingredients. Let's say we're using the santan gum or we're using gel and gum. We explain from where we can find this gel and gum, for what we use this gel and gum, the characteristics of these ingredients. Is very, very, very great book. Like the chapter you say, interpretation of the classic, because I love classic dessert. I love carrot cake. I love lemon pie. For me, the classic desserts, we need to keep it live because that we remember with the classic dessert, we remember our childhood. We remember when we was kids. We remember our family, our grandparents, our mom, our father. For me, I always like to keep classic dessert with my new interpretation because I want always people remember. We always thinking about in the past, about family, and then dessert is one of the key and tools to go back to the past, to remember. Because when you remember family, you remember happiness. When you eat something nice and nice dessert, you remember, wow, I ate this carrot cake with my grandmother 25 years ago. And and for me, very important to keep always a classic name in my dessert. That's
okay.
Why I did this chapter, interpretation of the carrot cake, shortcake.
So what did you do different on the carrot cake? For the people that haven't seen your book, obviously they have to buy it, but can you talk to us about it?
The recipe, they are great. We use a simple carrot cake that my mom used to make in my home 30 years ago, 35 years ago. But I did like a nice interpretation, nice modern aesthetic. I did a layer cake with pineapple jam, coconut whipped ganache. In this case, we did with a cream cheese with ganache and pineapple jam. And then we covered outside with cream cheese with ganache. We did with the vermicelli pastry tip that we used to make a Mont Blanc. to make the shape and the line of the cremeux or the wheat ganache, and we decorate on top with mango. Like I said before, tropical fruit, mango,
So there you go.
pineapple,
Coconuts, mango,
coconut,
pineapple.
cream cheese. I want to give a nice wow factor to this classic interpretation. Like a karaoke is one of them. I love tacos. My wife, she loves Mexican food. I did the interpretation of the tacos with chocolate.
Yeah, chocolate. Yeah, it's
Yeah, and
beautiful.
it's a beautiful. I did the shape of the taco with the chocolate, tempered chocolate. I use caramel, almond, guava, coulis, chocolate, cremeux, mango. Like you say, a lot of flavor, punch of flavor. When you eat, you can taste the caramel, the chocolate, the guava, the mango. I want people wow factor when they see the book and they say, wow, it's beautiful. But at the same time, you have a lot of techniques, a lot of sub recipes. It's a great book. I'm very proud.
And in the brunch section of it, there's, for me, a reinterpretation of a classic for me, which is like the quiche Lorraine with, you are using like the croissant dough, as instead of the regular crust. And I'm like, okay, I haven't made croissant dough myself. I use, I make quiche Lorraine from scratch. I learned it from my mom when I was the same age. Probably you learn how to, bake and cook with your family. It is really something fascinating, that I've seen in your book.
The quiche croissant, I remember when Miami was locked down with the pandemic. Thanks God we are open. We was opening for takeout and delivery. I need to create traffic in my shop. I have 4 employees in my shop. We keeping paying everybody. We one day said, let's do quiche croissant. I post in my Instagram that we have this tomorrow available, and we make only 40 or 55. In 5 minutes, we sold out everything. People calling every day, and we was making 200, 300 every day, 400, and then I did the croissant tart with fruit. And, it's like I say, always we need to keep positive in the bad time. In the bad time, you need to be more strong than before, because that's the time that you need to show the people that you are strong enough to make something new and keep your business up.
You mentioned as well that, you wanted to elevate like the pastry scene in the US. How do you approach something like this? This is like a big statement. The culture of dessert and pastry is really different, in different part of the world, but it's different here in the US. And so how do you go about that?
I'm very lucky. I've been traveling to 60 or 70 countries in the world and more than 150 cities in the world. If you go to Europe, you can find the best pastry. Even in Asia, you go to Japan, Singapore, Thailand. In Thailand, you go to the shopping mall, you have 40 or 50 small kiosks in pastry for selling pastry. You go to a big city in Europe and Asia, and you find a great dessert. And in the United States, we are lack of a good pastry shop. And then when I decided to open a pastry shop in Miami, I want to show people that we can make. You don't need to travel to Europe to have a great dessert. I need to elevate the dessert in the United States because we are a country that we buy more chocolate than any country in the world, more pastry products. But we need to feel proud that we're making something different and nice. And then, thanks God, today I see many, many good pastry shops in the United States. More than before, 10 years before. People now taking more classes. I remember when I was teaching classes at Barona School in Brooklyn, I was teaching 6 classes every year, and came chef from 3 Michelin-star restaurant, pastry chef from hotel to take a class with me. And then I saw these people right now doing great things. People get motivated and inspired to do something new. I think now United States is getting great pastry shop, great pastry chef. The hotel, we have a great restaurant with a nice pastry program. I think every day is much better than 10 years ago. 10 years ago, you cannot find a good pastry shop in United States. Now you can find in New York, in Miami, you can in LA, in Los Angeles. It's growing a lot. San Francisco and croissant now, you can find many bakeries in United States doing better croissant bread than Europe. Now, this year I did a croissant class in Ukraine few weeks ago. In Dubai, I wanted to do a class only for croissant. In Madrid, only for croissant. In Portugal, only for croissant. People are asking to do croissant now,
And there's a really an evolution and trends around, things around croissant with different colors, on top of it. And then there's a lot of different fillings, which is, something recent, relatively recent. But like, of course, originally you had like the almond, paste, in croissant in some countries like Switzerland, Germany and so on, or France. But now there's like custard, like creams and, different things in there. So that's interesting.
Listen, I told you, we changed the mentality of croissant. Before was butter croissant and that's it. And pan chocolate. That's it. Now you can see croissant with a lot of filling, cream, jelly. We use a gelan to make a jelly. You can bake the croissant inside. A lot of custard, pistachio, chocolate, hazelnut with different flavors. We changed the way to eat croissant today. In our shop, in my shop, we in the weekend we sold in each shop 1,000 croissant or more. People get crazy with the bicolor, with the inside, with the mascarpone, with the strawberry, pistachio. We have different pecan. We did.
So it's almost like cross influences from different world between like the donut, the eclair, and the croissant with some toppings and some filling, but different obviously dough. But that's really interesting. I'm curious to see if my friends from France are going to get into that trend. Their croissant.
I think France with the color changed a lot. Before, I was very criticized by many chefs in France that this guy using a lot of color in chocolate and food or whatever. And then I saw a lot of chefs using also color in the glaze in the last 10 years in France, a lot in the bonbons. Listen, for me, color is happiness. It's beautiful. It's happiness. They show happiness. For me, color is everything in dessert. It's life. And and now you can see a lot of new croissant in France and Europe. In Spain, they're doing a lot of color croissant by color. In France, also pan chocolate with red, different color. Now, Sosa brand, they have a lot of natural color that you can incorporate in the croissant. That is nice, natural. Every day is something new.
What's your favorite ingredient to work with and why?
I like chocolate because with chocolate you can match any flavor. You can make chocolate with fruit. You can make chocolate with coffee. You can make chocolate with it's the ingredient that you can match with anything. Also, when you work with chocolate, it's fatty, it's creamy. They give you this texture of cream or creamy in dessert that you cannot find in any ingredients. Of course, chocolate, tropical fruits. For me, tropical fruit and chocolate is like I use a lot of white chocolate to make a cream mousse and to make mousse because they give more creamy to the dessert. It's more like more smooth, more creamy. Instead of doing a mousse with a meringue, I like to make a ganache with white chocolate, give the flavor, natural flavor with the fruit, passion fruit, and to make a nice mousse with white chocolate base. Because it's a neutral base flavor. You don't taste the chocolate, the white chocolate, or the flavor, but you get at the same time the texture of what you want of nice and creamy.
So what's your least favorite ingredient to work with?
I think can be licorice flavor for me. I went to Sweden, to Norway, dessert over there because they asked me things that I need to make every day. It's not my least favorite, but it's my least ingredient to make dessert.
Okay. You work a lot with spices, a blend of spices as well?
I love vanilla. I love spicy like cinnamon, nutmeg,
cardamom, maybe?
Cardamom, a lot, saffron. I love to incorporate saffron. Where I did a lot of consulting in the Middle East, in Dubai, in Bahrain, Qatar, and they love saffron. They use a lot of saffron. I love saffron. I love spicy. Incorporating the dessert.
What's your latest ingredient obsession at the moment?
Caramel.
Caramel.
I try to make caramel now with different texture and flavor, with cinnamon, with spicy, with the hazelnut caramel, with different. Now we're making a new recipe in my book with hazelnut caramel, with pecan caramel, dulce caramel, almond caramel, with almond inspiration. My new obsession is to make something, a lot of recipe with caramel, with incorporate different flavors. I don't want only the caramel, the regular caramel, classic caramel. We incorporate flavor like a spicy, saffron caramel. I'm working now with a lot of new recipe, cremous, puddings with caramel.
You know, when I talk to chefs, like culinary chef, restaurant chefs, you know, on the podcasts, they talk to me about the importance of the access to quality ingredients and sourcing, you know, the right ingredients. So I'm curious for you in pastry and baking, you know, how this access to quality ingredients is, you know, important, and is it as important that it is for, you know, for a culinary chef?
Yeah, for me, the quality is the most important thing. You know, the best chocolate, the best cream, the best milk, organic eggs. And the good thing in the United States, you can find the best ingredient in the world. It's very accessible to buy the best quality and the best ingredient in United States market. I always say you can be a great chef, but if you don't use the best quality ingredient, it's not the same. You know, it's the dessert is 80% is quality and 20% is the chef. You can be a good chef and you don't use a good quality. Listen, I was in Panama like 5 years ago. I stayed in one of the best hotels in Panama, 5-star, with a great brand. And the pastry chef there, they was using compound chocolate, no covered chocolate, you know. I say, and then you spend $500 or $700 a day. I told him, and you don't using a great chocolate for your dessert? That's crazy. And you taste the dessert is not the same, the quality. And the guy was a great chef. I said, no, I need to keep my labor, my food cost to make my
Yeah,
budget.
about the food cost. Yeah, that was I thinking.
And they say, man, I can understand. You pay $1 less or $2 less by pound. And how many pounds you using a week? 50 pounds? You're talking about saving $100 for the hotel. That is not your business. And you sacrifice quality. I say, I don't want to say what I say to him because it's a podcast. I say, it's something unreal.
So, but do you think there's still like a lot of to be done at this, you know, this level, especially when you know, about like the sweet world and, you know, baking world and pastry world in the US that, you know, a lot of things are around like, you know, sugar, and it could be used like, you know, low quality of ingredients, and, you know, chocolate that you just mentioned. Do you think that, you know, there's still like a lot of room to grow here?
I think so, but at the same time, I see a lot of progress in United States in the chef. They searching for better quality. I talking with the company, you know, the best company about the chocolate Barjona. They doing very great in United States. Before the pandemic, was number 2 country that they most sell this chocolate with the vanilla beans company. You know, the vanilla in United States market, they using of vanilla bean. They went up a lot. I think people in the United States chef, they are more confident to using quality ingredients. You know, people they are more educated to buy better quality of ingredients.
You have opened your I mean, different shops, you know, in Miami. And so what's your next objective?
I want to open we took a new location now in Design District in Miami. We opening in 8 months, maybe in the end of this year. I want to open like a French brasserie with a pastry concept. After that, I don't know. I get an offer to open in Dubai, in different countries. But I want to keep very humble, very simple. I don't want to open so many restaurants and shops. With this I have in Miami, I think that's enough for me. I will still teaching classes because that I love to teach class. I love to travel. I will keep writing books.
You have written what, 5 books, correct now? 6?
Six.
Six.
Yeah. Because I always doing new recipe. You know,
where do you find time? Where do you find time to do that?
You know, I don't know too. That's the question. A lot of people they ask me all the time. But the thing is, I keep working. You know, I wake up every day at 4 o'clock in the morning. I go home like at 8, 9. I'm a workaholic. I work a lot. That keeps me alive. You know, when I was 16 years old, I have a very serious condition. I did a surgery in my brain. I have a brain tumor with cancer. I stayed like 6, 7 months in the hospital. What keep me alive in life was working. Working for me, they keep me alive. They keep me strong every day, and I work a lot. For me, working is life.
So I want to pick up your brain a little bit, as I do with all my guests. And I would like you to make a suggestion of how a home cook can create maybe, I would say, a chocolate cake, at home. But it will be with, an Antonio Bachour twist.
Listen, first, I think to be with Bachour twist, you need to have passion. For me, passion is the key for pastry. Yeah, you need to have passionate about what you do in pastry. Second, you need to be your own chef. You need to change your mentality. Yeah, you need to change your mentality from home cook to be a chef. You need to create, and you need to believe that you are a great chef. I think that's the question people ask me. I say you need to believe that you are the best chef. When you believe that you are the best in doing something, you're doing great, even if you don't are the person that you are thinking. For me, is to take advantage, the adventure to make something and show the people that you can, when you believe in yourself, you can do whatever you want.
Okay. So you don't want to tell me more about how I can do this?
Yeah. For me, to make a mousse cake is one of my first cake I make like a chef, professional chef. I still making now because it's my favorite recipe. It's two simple recipe: a cake and mousse. It's a ganache mousse base that you take a cream, you boil the cream, a gianduja, you emulsify with the hand blender, and then you add the whipped cream. Very easy, simple recipe. And the chocolate cake is 4 or 5 ingredients: chocolate flour, eggs, baking powder. You mix everything and you put in the oven. It's very simple cake, but at the same time, very tasty.
What kind of chocolate do I use? Is it
Barrona for me is the best chocolate.
Sure. Yeah.
For the gianduja, you can buy gianduja chocolate from Barrona, or you can make your own gianduja using 1 kilo of 1 kilo of milk chocolate. You temper the chocolate. You add 300 or 400, 100% hazelnut paste, and you make your own gianduja chocolate. Gianduja is chocolate with hazelnut, pure hazelnut paste. But like I say, very simple. You make a ganache, and you add whipped cream, and you have a mousse. That's it.
And so where do I put my tropical fruits?
On the top for decoration.
On the top.
In this one.
Okay,
you got some mango, nice. Now put some pineapple, some coconut shape, and you decorate, and that's it. You have a beautiful visual. You have the chocolate on the top, the color of the fruit.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to finish our conversation with a short series of rapid fire questions, if it's okay with you.
It's okay.
So when you have a little bit of time and I come to Miami and then you and I are going to do a tasting tour in Miami, where are the 5 spots that you are going to take me to?
We need to go to Zuka. It's an Italian restaurant in Miami, in Coral Gables. We need to go to Makoto, Japanese. We need to go to Mandarin. It's like a Greek, Turkish restaurant. To Sillon, it's a Spanish tapa bar. We need to go to a nice place in Coral Gables, like Mediterranean restaurant.
Okay. Wow, that was fast.
Yeah.
And then what's your favorite guilty pleasure food?
I love to eat. And, I eat a lot. Pick Chinese food.
Chinese food. What kind?
Dim sum. I love dim sum. I can eat every day. Dim sum and spring roll.
Very good. What are 3 pastry books that inspire you the most?
My first pastry book was from 25 years ago. The book of Pierre Hermet's always is a plus. The chocolate from Ramon Morato.
Okay. Have you met Pierre Hermé?
Oh, yes, many times. He's a great guy.
Yeah. I met him as well. I did an event in Paris, with him. I had the chance to have lunch with him at La Durée. He was at La Durée at that time. What's your biggest pet peeves in the lab or in the kitchen? Things that you cannot stand?
The cleanness. I want everything clean. For me, my kitchen needs to be clean all the time. For me, I cannot last anybody in the kitchen if the kitchen is not clean. I come every morning. The first thing I wash the floor, the table, the equipment. I'm very picky with the cleanness of my shop, of my lab.
I know that you do your social media. We talked about this and I was surprised because you do a lot of things and, on top of everything else. Do you have Instagram accounts that you love to follow that you can share with us?
I follow a few accounts, a lot of accounts, like 1,000 accounts on Instagram. I always like to follow the art of plating because they share a lot of plating from different chefs around the world. And you can see a lot of talented new chefs every day. I love a chef from Sweden, great plating. I love his style. He was one of my assistants in a class I did in Sweden. Pierre Hermes, always. I love the picture he posts of his shop and dessert. I love Jan Kruber. I love what he do in France right now. In Spain, I follow Miguel, the teacher from the husband, the chef from the husband. For me, is one of the most talented chefs in the world, pastry chef. Every day, I am amazed how new chef every day can show in Instagram, social media. You know, every day is arriving new talented chef doing great things that you cannot believe it, how important social media is today.
Absolutely. So the last one, do you have a favorite dessert that you make at home?
At home, I like to make simple dessert. I like to make like a nice panna cotta, put in the oven. For me, in home, I like simplicity.
Okay.
I like relax.
So your creme brulee, is it your creme brulee vanilla or is it like something else?
I like to make with vanilla. I like to make with spicy. Sometimes I make with cinnamon. Sometimes I make dulce creme brulee, which are the new chocolate blonde. But I love creme brulee.
Very good. Chef, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I was very, happy to have you on Flavors Unknown.
Thank you so much to invite me. I hope everybody loves this podcast.
Thank you for listening today. If you love baking and pastry, make sure to buy one of Antonio Bachour's cookbooks and put colors and exotic fruit in your pastry creations. Please leave a review about Flavors Unknown podcast on the platform you are listening to podcasts. Follow us as well on Instagram or Facebook at Flavors Unknown. Our next episode will take us to the coffee industry. My guest will be Los Angeles Bar 9 founder Zaid Naquib. I see you in 2 weeks, and until then, remember that people who love to eat are always the best people.
Thanks for listening to Flavors Unknown. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave a review. Find the show notes at flavorsunknown.com. And if you want to join the Flavors Unknown community, search Flavors Unknown on Instagram and Twitter.